Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers about their lives in and out of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity and community service, helping others. That's always something we try to promote, positivity and the goodness and kindness of helping others. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. He is an independent wrestler. He's been wrestling for over 15 years. He's been playing football as well. He's currently the heavyweight champion and is a former U.S. champion, TV champion, multiple-time tag team champion. Welcome to the show, Mark Mahoney. Mark, thank you for joining us tonight.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm working. I'm sitting at work right now, but they're all in bed, so I'm good.
All right, so let's get started here. Tell me, Mark, where are you from?
I'm from Maine.
Okay. What part of Maine?
The central Maine area, like Waterville, Augusta area.
Oh, yeah, that's a great area.
Not really, but been here for a while, so it kind of gets old.
Well, so tell me about your childhood and upbringing.
Well, let's see. I lived with my grandmother and my aunt for a little while. Mom was a little messed up.
Hmm.
She finally got herself straightened out when I became a teenager, so I was able to actually move back with her. Um, I went all the way through school. I played football from the time I was 6 until I was 36. Um, all through school, and then I retired from semi-pro when I was 36. I tried going back a couple years ago and realized I just wasn't in shape anymore for it. It body takes a toll when you play football forever. They say add was it 2 years for every year you play. So like I guess I got like a 60-year-old body for a 36-year-old with playing with 30 years of playing football.
Hmm. Well, I mean, that's, 30 years is a long time, like you said, it takes a lot of wear and tear on your body. So, semi-pro, I mean, tell me about some of the teams you played for.
I played for contenders and pretenders actually. I played for one team just because a bunch of guys want to play football, and we maybe won like 3 games in 4 years.
Hmm.
But it was because the other teams didn't show up pretty much. We two to three games we won were actually forfeits because the other team didn't show up with enough guys. So it was a win, but it wasn't really a win. To me, you don't earn the win unless you're out there sweating and tearing.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work and dedication, and it seems like you were able to put forth an effort to do that. Playing football, just like professional wrestling isn't easy, it takes that drive and that, determination to make it. And so did you think about going professional, like NFL?
I wanted to play in the NFL since I was a little kid. I'm not gonna lie, but then I realized that I was the lineman size for the. I played line most of my career. I played mostly nose tackle, defensive tackle, DN, sometimes offensive line when we needed fill-ins. I mean, I took pride in that I never allowed a sack on my side, but in hindsight, they're they, they were they were one of the bigger guys in the offensive line, which is awesome because I rather play defense. I rather hit people than protect people. Now on offensive line, you got to protect the quarterback. On defense, you get the cream up. So, that's just. I was a nice player. I in my 30 years of playing, I probably legitimately shattered 4 helmets.
Oof. Oof.
I had one. I hit one guy so hard on a kickoff that my helmet split in two, and he was knocked out.
Oh man, unconscious?
Yeah, he was knocked out cold. And I'm
Jeez.
looking down at him. I gave the X for the medics, and I said he needs help. And as I'm carrying my pieces of my helmet off the field, so I wasn't a nice player. I played rough.
I find it fascinating about, and I talked about this with a couple of people on the podcast before about this connection between pro football players and professional wrestlers. A lot of professional wrestlers got their start playing football. When it comes to sports, like The Rock and JBL, Ron Simmons. The list goes
Lesnar.
on and on. Yeah, Lesnar. Um, what was it easy for you to make that transition because you had that experience?
Not really. In football, I had a chance to go back to play football. Like I said, I tried playing a couple years ago. I was playing at risk. I don't know if anybody knows it. You don't really know this. I had a really bad motorcycle crash 8 years ago, and I was pretty much dead on the scene and died several times more in the hospital.
Oh, that's devastating. I'm so
They
sorry to hear
called it
that.
because they called it the last time I flatlined because they couldn't revive me. Had to take machines off. I came back. So like I tell people all the time that I forgot where I was going with this, but I tell people all the time just like live for today. You're not guaranteed tomorrow, and and I tell people when I want to go back to wrestling, doctors would tell me you probably never do that again. And I said, oh, they did a big mistake. You just told me I'll probably not do it again because I got into wrestling. So I was watching SummerSlam in 1992 with a couple of friends, my mom, my dad, and a friend of mine was like, "We should do that someday." And my dad started laughing. I'm like, "What are you laughing for, Dad?" He goes, "You wrestle, you'll never be talented." Um,
Really?
yeah. So that started my drive to actually prove him wrong. But then I never, until I moved up to Central Maine from Southern Maine, I never really could get any connections. I ended up actually working with a coworker who actually wrestled. He brought me to a show with him. I told him I started talking to him. I want to train and stuff. He's like, "Well, come to a show and we'll start seeing what you do." And so I've been doing it ever since. But my dad came to my first um match outside of training matches. Um, before he passed on. He gave me a hug and told me he's proud of me for thinking I never listened. I said, "Well, Dad," I said, "You told me I wouldn't do it. I want to prove you wrong." But then when I had that accident, they told me I'd never do it again. I got out of the hospital 4 months after being in there. I went to the first show just to hang out with everybody. They actually did a benefit show for me, and I started huffing the ring in by myself, like steel pieces of the ring in by myself. That usually takes two people to carry. And people are like, "What are you doing? You should be doing that." I'm like, "Why? You just got out of the hospital?" I'm like, "Oh well, I'm not dead." And I tried training that day again, doing one of the training sessions. I just couldn't. The shaking of the ring just made me get really sick from the injuries. So I had to like pull off it, and then it took me about a year before I returned. Um, and I've been wrestling ever since. I'm semi-retired now, call it, because I wrestle very sparingly now. I'm just not really my body's breaking. I know that.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
I wrestled this past weekend, and like the match was good, but it wasn't the greatest. I legitly overextended myself what we call bumps, and I ended up landing on my head and jamming my neck. Um, so like I was like really, I'm still sore. I usually
yeah,
heal up with
sure.
it. I usually heal up in a day. Now I'm going to be 45 in June, and I'm like, okay, I'm not healing as fast as I used to. I mean, playing football, I we'd have one game a week. And by the next game, I was ready to go again, whether injury or not. But now, if I get an injury today, I wouldn't take in, I wouldn't take in probably heal up by next week.
Wow. That is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's like you said, you wanted to prove your dad wrong by living your dream. And there's nothing sweeter than being able to do that. Even if it, it's wrestling, whether it is wrestling for a major company or a smaller company, you've been able to do that, 15 years. I mean, that's an incredible run, an amazing run, as a professional wrestler, doing it still, So kudos to you for having that drive still, and keeping that passion alive, that's very important.
Yeah, it's what it is. I tell people all the time, um, live like I said, live for today. You're not guaranteed tomorrow,
Mhm.
or live for the moment. You're not guaranteed the next moment. Um, I did, I live for that, and I tell people all the time that you walk out your door and you don't know if a bus is gonna come hit you when you walk out your door.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
when my accident happened, for that motorcycle crash, I was leaving my house to go for a ride with some buddies, meet up with them. I left my house and within I got the next block over, car that came across the road hit me.
Jeez.
So I
I'm
was
so
on a good
sorry.
move that morning going for a ride, and people
That's
say
just
bikes. But I got
that's
to the hospital within 3 weeks. I was riding again. Once I got my insurance money for my bike, I bought a new bike. I just
a word to those that want to ride motorcycles, please be careful at all
yeah,
times.
you don't have to worry about yourself as much as you have to worry about other people.
Right. Right, exactly. You know, it's the same thing with driving, you know. It's just it's a weapon in a lot of ways. You're it can be really fun, but you got to be careful. Like you said, it's just you never know.
You never know with anything you do. I mean, I hate to bring it up, but I used to hunt with my dad. Obviously, I've lost 3/4 of my hearing, so me going hunting now is kind of pointless because I can not hear anything really. And I hear about like fatalities from people hunting. It's like, oh, the gun shot somebody. Yeah, no, it's actually the person pulled the trigger. It's not the people want to blame the guns just like they want to blame pit bulls. I have three, so I know we get off topic a little bit, but people blame pit bulls for being vicious. It's not them; it's the person that owns them. I believe that. Um, I believe a lot of things like that.
So it's just your story is just it's inspiring, motivational to those that have gone through hell and back, throughout their lives, and being able to tell your story today is just remarkable. It's great, that you're able to still recall all these memories. What was it that got you into professional wrestling?
Um, to wrestle or to
Just
watch
in
it.
just to watch it, because a lot of us start off, growing up, we're fans of it, but eventually, I think you had mentioned about SummerSlam, uh, 92, but in terms of just being a fan, what got you really interested?
Um, Honestly, originally it was my grandfather. My grandfather that was something I used to sit in my grandfather's lap when I was little and watch wrestling with him. Like back in the day when they had like Chief Jay Strong, well, Tony Atlas. I actually truthfully has have wrestled Tony Atlas 3 or 4 times in my career. I actually have a video on YouTube with me and my old tag partner wrestling.
It's cool.
Um, for a little boy, actually, he's carrying a little boy around the ring that we're doing the charity shit for. Me, and my tag partner, what we call the heel guys. We're the bad guys. Him and his partner was good guys. And like, I started jarring with him. Also, he picked up the little boy we do the charity event for, who had leukemia.
Mhm.
Um, and I want, and like, it was just, it was hard to be a bad guy at that point, but I still had to be for the fans that were there. And it was just, it's always an honor when I really will learn from him a little bit. Um, he taught me quite a bit on like how to like just be a tough guy without being a tough guy. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, when people know about your story and what you've been through and you're playing the role of a villain, it's kind of hard to boo you.
and I find out the thing is though, I just did a benefit show this past weekend for the suicide awareness for veterans.
Hmm.
prevention suicide awareness. They have another word for it. I can't remember what it is. I just say that because it's easier to pronounce. But we did. I helped run the show. Um, and we did pretty well. The building we were able to get for it holds like 80 people without a 16 by 16 ring in the middle of the floor. So I'm guessing probably take like 20 people off that would be a full house. And we had about 54, 55 people there.
Hmm.
So like we only were shy, what, 20, 20, 25 people. I'll fill packing the place up. But if we put 80 people with that ring in there, people would be sitting on each other. So we were at what we could for a max building, and it was like the crowd was like really like into it from the beginning and the end. And I wanted to go out beforehand. I had to have somebody else do it because being a bad guy, it kind of doesn't make sense for me to go out and do a tribute for our veterans. So I had to have somebody else do it for me. I had them get all the veterans that were in attendance in the ring, and then played that song from Lee Greenwood, "Proud to Be American." Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I can't remember. It's a really Greenwood version of
God bless the USA.
Yes, that's it. Thanks.
That's it.
We had to play that song for him and had him do a salute to all the veterans we had in the ring. And like I couldn't do that with them because of being the villain, because it would be kind of hard for the crowd to boo me later in the night.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get somebody to do it for me, but they all liked it. I'm part of that legion. Um, and like everybody I saw afterwards that was actually there, they actually waited to see me after the show was over. They all thanked me. I
Oh.
said, hey, no problem. I told them to just get the veterans there. I said they're gonna be a surprise with all the veterans in attendance and beyond.
Yeah.
Um, I actually had to bring the chair with the POW MLI flag on it into the ring for while we do the tribute too. And it was hard not to be out there. I
Sure.
really wanted to. But being a tough, softy guy, I teared up and cried a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to everything going on up in the back. Um, it's pretty
Yeah.
funny actually.
Yeah. You had to do your job.
My job is to hate people
Yeah.
in wrestling per se. I
Yeah.
mean, my manager at work, she knows I wrestle. And she asked me my difference between my character and real life. I summed it up for her. I said, my real life, I'd help the old lady across the street. My villain life, I'd probably run her over. That's just the difference between my character and real life.
Yeah.
So,
It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, two different personalities, but in one person.
exactly. And
Yeah.
like people who know me that go to shows, like they like, how can you just turn a switch like this? I'm like, just I don't know. I just do it.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it seems like you nailed your character down. You're convincing people to hate you and to boo you, and you play your part really well. So that's amazing, still being able to do that. So the training process, tell me a little bit more about, getting equipped to be a wrestler, because it's not easy. It's not ballet. It's very, tough to make it.
What's really the toughest thing is cardio. I suck at cardio, but um, so I have to pace myself. Um, I have other illnesses that don't help it, like asthma.
Ooh,
Um,
yes.
it people in training sessions they'll push you, like they'll push you till you puke, and then they'll take you back and then go again. Which at the time you're like, why are they doing this? But then after a while you realize, okay, it's fine. And they have a lot of cardio exercise. Like when I started training, we had to do what they call squats.
Hmm.
I could do five. Now I can do like 100 plus of them.
Sure.
Crunches. I do 3 sets of 75 a night at work. I have to keep myself awake while they're sleeping, so I take in. I do stuff. I work out. Um, put it this way: the year of my accident, I was at 365 plus. Now I'm at like 213.
Mm.
So I've like lost a lot of weight, watched what I eat, and People tell me I'm a alcoholic, but
Yeah, it's important, as a wrestler to keep in shape and to stay fit. Like, what are the things you do, in terms of, staying in shape, with the exercise? Like, do you know, certain meals you have in a day or in a week? Do you
not,
stick to like a plan?
not really. I eat whatever I crave. I mean, I love Girl Scout cookies. Like my doctor and I was talking about it today. Um, she's worried that my I'm diabetic as well. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
Um, last appointment 3 months ago, my A1C was like almost five something, which is lower than it was. It was almost nine something. Got it down to five something. Today it was back up to high sixes. And she's like, "Okay, what are you doing wrong?" And I'm like, it's Girl Scout cookie time." I love Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, what what is it about Girl Scout cookies that you like? Is it the taste?
Um, they're different.
Hmm.
Like I get over the stove, like the peanut butter patties, for example. You can get like the Dollar General specials that look the same, but they don't taste the same. Same thing with the caramel, whatever it's called, caramel delights.
Hmm.
They get their brand of them that they just don't taste the same. They look the same, but they don't taste the same. For some reason, Girl Scout cookies taste good. They taste really good, but I mean these ones are like toasty gaze, which is like eating French toast. They're
Okay.
just a different taste. They different taste to them.
A lot of variety is really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, all right. So you had mentioned Tony Atlas earlier, but like, who are some of your favorite opponents that you've been in the ring with?
Um, I've been in the ring with my old ex tag team partner. Who we won like four or five plus tag championship with back
Okay.
in the he was an Impact for a little while. He got done with Impact and back on the indie scene.
Who was this guy?
AC,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he was my tag partner for like several years. We ran the ship everywhere we won championships, and it was fun. He taught me a lot about how to be a heel, be a bad guy. I was like a deer in its headlights sometimes being a heel. I didn't really know how to catch myself. He's like, just pretend you want to tell people that were mad, that mean to you growing up what you thought of them, but you couldn't do it. Well, get in trouble. Now you can say it and not get in trouble. So it helps.
I've heard it said from several different wrestlers, that they prefer being a heel over a baby face because it's easier to get the crowd to, boo you than it is
It's
to
a
like
lot
you.
easier.
It is.
Um, it's a lot easier to get them to hate you than like um back I there was one character when I came back from my crash. I was a redneck. Um, I created one of the main drinks called Moxie. It's a really nasty, tastes like cough, pond water. Not gonna lie,
Hmm.
but it's really good. I used to take one of those to the ring with me. I used to come out with a flannel shirt with sleeves cut off, with a little like a fisherman's hat on, and like reader's glasses without the lenses in them. And then camel pant, like camel shorts. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'd actually come out to the Cotton Eye Joe song. And like, I mind you, I used to take my 13-year-old to father daughter dances, and they actually play that song there. All the kids could actually dance to the song the way it's supposed to be danced to. I couldn't, so I made my own version of it. It was a mixture between the Bushwhackers, like the little arm flopping, but then I had my own little stamp, which actually stamped to the beat of the song. And like the whole crowd was like the only time I ever got them to really fully like me as a baby was when I was that character. I get the whole crowd dancing with, you know, and that was a
That's hilarious. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I in middle school they had they played that song at the dances too, so good brings back some good times.
it does. It's truly fun. Like
Hmm.
I had fun with it. Like the Moxie would be my power up. You know how Hogan had the Hulk up.
Yep, yep.
Like people, I'd be taking a beating from the bad guy because I was a good guy with that character, and like my my story was that I'd get crawled over, I'd crawl myself over to where my moxie would, I'd take a swig of it, and then I was impervious to pain. And it was over with the crowd. They loved it.
Yeah, I mean, the babyface gimmicks are really fun. You know, they get the crowd hyped up.
If you can do it right.
Yeah,
I that's the only character I can get right with.
yeah,
Um, my heel one, I can get them to hate me a lot easier.
sure,
I mean,
sure.
I had a girl that I know that was at the show this past weekend. I go out. My character now is called the Rabbit Dog Dozer. Where I could basically come out without seltzer after drinking a little bit of swig of without seltzer mouth, where I start foaming at the mouth. Well, I go out and I just started giving her a glare, right? And like I just went to go a little like that, and I didn't realize I saw it out seltzer mouth and spit it right at her.
Oh no,
She was okay with it. I apologized to her. Like when I saw her later on, and she's like, "Hey, don't worry about it. It happens." But I still felt bad.
sure. You know, there's things that, I feel like that could fly 20 years ago that you couldn't do now. Um, what do you feel about like some of the stuff that heels got away with back then that they can't necessarily get away with today? Do you feel like it's harder for
Um,
them to get over as heels because you got people cheering them?
well, the thing is though, is the heel baby gimmicks aren't really what it used to be. Back in the day, you could know who the bad guy was because they would have nobody cheer them, and you could have good guys um back in the day that you knew they're good guys because everybody would cheer them. Not never would ever boo 'em. Nowadays, you have like I'll use John Cena for example. You know, he had people cheer him, but he also had people boo him. You know, he acted like a baby, a good guy. The crowd decide who they want to cheer for. You know, if they want to cheer for you, they're going to cheer for you. If you can tell them you tell them you can say what you want for negative stuff to them, they still want to cheer for you. They're going to cheer for you.
Right.
But if you back in the day, you didn't have to say all this nasty stuff to get people to force them to hate
Right. It's kind of
you.
what
And
they call.
nowadays you have. I mean, I don't say a lot of nasty stuff. My biggest thing I say is like I don't come out with calling people cows. I tell them, I just say look at people and just look, and they start booing me. I tell them, I said, geez, you're saying that wrong. It's supposed to be a move instead of boo. Or something like, well, they let you out of the pasture today. I'm not directly calling them that. Back in the day, you had to like force people to hate you. Now they're
Right.
just like now that people decide they want to love you or hate you.
Yeah, it's like the crowd's kind of got the finger on the pulse of you know, what the powers that be are trying to do.
Yeah. Then nowadays, like back when Hogan was the baby back in his younger years, back way back when he was champion forever, people knew to cheer for him. Like, but then like you had trying to think of somebody back then. They actually had like say stuff to force people to hate him.
The Iron
I can't.
Sheik,
Yes, that's it. That was one of them. There's a couple guys that had to like actually say. You had
Freddie
Sergeant
Blassie.
Slaughter.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you had Sergeant Slaughter back in the day when he was in the Iraq gimmick,
Hmm.
back in the Iraq war days.
Yep.
Yeah, that was his way of forcing people to hate it. Even though I really still like them, but I mean, I always like the heels and the babies. Like I just pick up if I like the guy's character or not. I base if I like something if I character.
Right.
You know, I've always liked nature, Ric Flair. For what reason I don't know because his character wasn't really much flashy. Probably because I like his rope. I don't.
Very flamboyant. Very, he was a man's man. He was, world champion. Multi-time world champion. Just had that
16 times.
swagger. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, this meeting's going to end soon. We're going to get another link up here in a second, but we'll talk more about your charity work and stuff that you've done outside of the ring. So
I do a lot of that stuff. Actually, there's something else I am besides a wrestler and former football player. I'm actually also an ordained minister.
oh, really?
Yeah, and like real quick thing, when I was laying in the hospital bed, this lady comes to see me after I woke up from my coma. She said, I almost died. I'm like, yeah. She was, are you afraid of dying? I'm like, no. She goes, what are you worried about dying for? I said, I won't be there for my kids. She goes, why are you afraid of dying? I said, because I know where I'm going. And she's like, well, you know, this person comes and sees me when I took in, woke up from my coma. She's understand you almost died. I'm like, yes, ma'am. She's like, are you afraid of dying? I'm like, no. She's why aren't you afraid of dying? I said, because I know where I'm going. And her comment after that was like, but you're a biker. I really don't understand what that has to do with belief, but she thought of it. I had to ask her to leave because she was upset.
Hmm. And it was that path that persuaded you to become a minister?
No, actually, the story on that one was that a friend had called me one day and she asked me, she goes, will you marry me? Okay, at the time I had a fiance, she had a fiance. So I'm like, I don't think my fiance or fiance will like that. And she's like, well, no, will you marry us? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, will you get ordained so you can marry us? I'm like, how you do that? She's like, I don't know. So I'm not trying to get too religious, but I prayed to my Lord, show me how to become ordained minister. Next day I woke up on Facebook and have you ever been asked by a friend to marry them? This is how you become ordained. So I got ordained.
Hmm. Very cool. It's very fascinating. What are some of like your favorite parts about being a minister?
Um, sharing the word. If I don't know the word, I'll look it up. Um, I have people all the time tell me that it's challenging. I get a lot of riffs about it. I actually have my own minister page on Facebook.
Hmm.
They call it Devotion Ministries.
Very cool. Very nice. Um, I'd imagine, you had to get licensed too. Explain that process.
Basically, I just had to not really take a course. The way I did it was the site that they gave me to look up. I just go in there and fill out the information, fill out what my beliefs are, and they issue me a license for it. I actually have it somewhere right
Oh,
here.
oh wow, okay. So it just seems very easy peasy. You're just kind of, you fill out something and it's over.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Talk about some of the fundraisers or organizations you've worked with in terms of charity, in terms of charity or any type of community service that you've done while working with this ministry or in wrestling.
In wrestling's easy. I've done a lot with wrestling. There's a gentleman that runs shows up north. All of his shows are based on charity events. Um, we did a show for that little boy I told you about with cancer, with
Mm-hmm.
leukemia. Um, I actually wrestled him that night. He was a good guy, I was a bad guy, and I'm jarring with everybody, including didn't realize it was the kid's parents and
Oh.
family that was there for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after the show got over, he was over talking to them for a minute. I was still in character, and he told me, he goes, "That's the parents. Go talk to them." I'm like, okay. So I went over to talk to them, and like, well, out of the blue, I was like, do you guys want me to do a prayer with you guys for his little boy?" Sure. I did a prayer with him. At the time, I wasn't a minister. So I did a little prayer with him and everything. I came out of character and did the prayer. And the father goes, "Are you a minister?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, that prayer was as good as I could do, and I am a minister up here." And
Wow.
I was like, "Well, okay." But but one of the things that one of the things that I asked in one of my prayers after my accident, I said, Lord, why'd you save me? Give me a sign. Well, I waited a couple of days. I woke up in my bed. I had a little piece of paper on my nightstand. It was like, go pray for the sick. Heal the sick. Go pray and heal the sick. And like, I thought it was like my girlfriend at the time played jokes on me. I said, why'd you write this note to me and put it on my bed? Because she's not a believer like me. She goes, there's nothing on that paper. I don't know what you're seeing. She goes, you've been hitting the head one too many times. No, this is what it said. And she's like, there's nothing on that paper. And I could see it clearly in the day. Um, so I set the paper down on my nightstand that night, went to bed, woke up the next morning, and it was blank. That was his message to me. Um, so like I just started doing like a lot of like stuff for like going to pray for people. Like I wouldn't I pray for that little boy, and that was like several years ago. It was like
Hmm.
4 or 5 years ago. We did that show for him. And then I did that prayer afterwards. And like I went to a pig roast last summer up in the same area we did that show at. All of a sudden, this girl runs up to me and goes, "I know you." I'm like, "Good, because I don't know you. I'm not from around here." She goes, "No." She goes, "You guys did a show for my son who was really sick and stuff like that. You prayed with me and the family afterwards for for him." I'm like, and then I said the boy's name, and she's like, "Yeah, him." I'm like, "How's he doing?" She goes, "Full remission."
Oh man.
I'm like, "Well," I said, "The Lord, I told you the Lord will watch over him." And she's like, "Your prayer helped." She goes, "Thank you." And it's like it was like an honor to hear that news. And that's what I do. I mean, people, there's one thing that makes me drive to wrestle is smile at the kids.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
that's it's a very heartwarming story, very touching. Uh Especially for that little boy that you know, that went through that, and he's, doing so much better now.
that's
So
he's
really,
in full remission. And the last one I talked, actually, I have it on Facebook now. He's still in remission to this day. I'm like, well, I said, I told you the Lord will keep him safe. And she was, yep, thank you. And they
oh,
thanked me. I don't know how many times that night that pig roast they would do.
wow.
Like I didn't even know, I didn't even recognize her at all. Um, and she recognized me and came right up to me.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's inspiring, it means a lot, for doing, such a charitable act, and, helping the kid and the family. And it's great to see that he's in a much better place now, you know.
And the
It,
other things I do, I don't wrestle all the time at charity events. Like I'm going to one Friday. I have two wrestling rings. I rent them out for other shows.
hmm.
Um, the promoter is doing a charity event for his high school's project graduation. Um, and I'm taking it in. I'm going to. I'm donating. I say I'm donating the ring, but I usually charge one price for regular shows. For charity events, I drop it in half. I mean,
Hmm.
I got to still obviously afford to be able to get it there and get it home, plus my
Hmm.
time. So,
Yeah. Why do you feel very passionate about helping people?
um, I don't really know. Like my work is the same thing. I take care of people with ID, intellectual disabled people, and I've done it like the last 16 years. Um, and people ask me, why do you like the work? I'm like, because I'm helping people get paid for it. You know, it's not really the money aspect of it. When I was that interview at this agency 7 years ago, they asked me what I liked about the work. I said, take care of people. If I could do it for nothing, I would. But obviously, I have to have money to survive.
And you feel, you feel like it's rewarding to give back to your community?
Oh, sure. Like the 4th of July after I got out of the hospital from my crash. Um, this guy runs up to me and starts hugging me, and I'm like, "Get off me!" He goes, "Thank you." I'm like, "Thank you for what?" He goes, "Helping me out, believing in me." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Come to find out, it was one of my clients I had in work that he had goals he set for himself, and a lot of people didn't think he'd ever achieve them, including himself. And I told him, I said one day, I said, "Look, I'm gonna tell you, one day you achieve your goals. Only one's gonna help you achieve your goals is yourself. Believe that you can achieve your goals, you get it." And he saw me. He was like one of my first clients when I got in the field of working about 16 years ago. So it was about 8 years after I worked with him. He remembered who I was. Um, and I didn't remember who he was,
Hmm.
you know, but he remembered who I was. And all his goals that I worked on told me his goals that he wanted to work on that wasn't part of his goal plan. And I told him, I said, "Look, you'll achieve those." I said, "You're the one to stop you from doing that." But he
Yeah.
still, I saw him that day, think is my inspiration helped him achieve those goals.
Yeah, those are very inspirational stories, you know. Just this is what we preach here on the show, you know. No pun intended, positivity. And that's something that we want to encourage people to, you know, that listen to this podcast, you know, do something nice for others. Kindness can go a long way. And Mark, I just want to say thank you for coming on here and talking with me. It means a lot to me and my listeners here, viewers checking out the show. Where can people find you on social media? And if there's anything you want to plug, feel free to plug it.
I have a Mark Mahoney page, a Facebook page. I also have, what's that? I have my devotion ministries page on Facebook. Well, um, I don't have many wrestling pages left. I shut a lot of those down because I started getting some crazy people getting on those things.
Oh, yeah. Whew.
I mean, when I say crazy people, it was like mainly like weird people. Like I don't share those pages much anymore because I don't want to. So they'll
Yeah.
get Mark Mahoney. My picture on this is Christ's purse. It's a picture of like a cross. This is Christ's purse.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thank you again for coming on here.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
It means a lot.
Let's do it
Uh,
again sometime.
yeah, for sure. And if I can use any pictures of you or videos of you in action, let me know, and I'd love to put them on here when I edit the show.
Yeah, I'll send you some of my links to some of my matches if you want to share those.
Yeah, that'd be great.
They're hard to find otherwise. I've changed my character way too many times. The
All
one I
right.
have now is going to be my
Yeah.
retirement one. I'm actually retiring at the end of the year for wrestling.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
My body's having enough. I was supposed to retire in June. The head promoter that I'm champion for asked me to wait around till at least November or December for this
Okay.
big show. I'm like, okay, if my body lets me.
15 years. I mean, that's pretty good, you know.
It's time I just start spending time with the kids. That's the other thing I want to say. Never forget what your home life, honestly, to people.
Sure. Yeah,
I tell people I teach young kids that all the time. Like I sat with Mick Foley one time. He was on a show I was on. Well, I wasn't really on the show at the ring rental for him. The main thing we talked about was family. Remember where you came from. Like he said for the longest time he forgot about that and lost a lot. And
oh
I didn't
yeah.
know what he meant by that. But until I took some time off to heal from injuries, I realized what was more important than being on the road all the time. Because for a while, I was on the road every weekend. I'm going to southern part of the country, to Louisiana, Texas, and Tennessee at some point.
Okay. All right. That's cool. You know, best of luck with everything. And you know, keep doing what you're doing.
I'm trying to.
Yeah. It's all we can do. Mark, thanks again.
No problem.
All right, talk to you later.
Later,
This
bud.
is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.